Cristo Rey School Network is a network that provides high school education to at-need families. The school network is located in 35 locations in 22 states, and it's coming here to Charleston. I sit down exclusively with two people involved in the project, Barker and Jermel President, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Next week, listen to this interview on iHeartRadio and Exquisite Radio. Barker and Jermel President. Jermel, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
I love Quintin Close-Ups.
Thank you greatly. Thank you. And Joe, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. I've heard a lot of great things, and I'm really excited to be here with you all.
Oh, thank you greatly so much. Let me jump right into it. This is actually some good news coming here to Charleston, and this is from the headline from the Catholic Miscellany. Good news from the Diocese of Charleston. It reads this: Cristo Rey School looks at opening in Charleston. Let me read to you portions of the particular article. It reads this, quote, lower-income families could soon be recipients of the alternative formulas of schooling, one that offers Catholic education for a fragment of regular tuition. Officials from the Cristo Rey Network, which provides high school education specifically for at-need families with 35 locations in 22 states, spoke at the Diocese of Charleston's Pastoral Center in Charleston on June 27th to announce its desire to open a school here. Tell me this, gentlemen, what's the biggest difference between June 27th and right now in your mind?
Wow, that's a great question. Let me take a stab at that. June 27th, there was a lot of buzz being created. There was a lot of discussion about what we're going to do, how we're going to about the communities and start putting the framework together. The difference between then and now is we're doing it. We are out talking to the communities. We're out talking to the businesses, getting jobs. We're out fundraising. We have some major benefactors and stakeholders that Jermel has introduced me to, as well as some other feasibility study committee members. So I think the legwork and the groundwork that we've been pushing forward is the main difference, I believe.
Jermel?
I totally agree. I think when he told me about the great school, I did some research on it. I think I'll let him get into it, how the school is built, but I wasn't really involved at the June 17th at that time. But since I've got on board, I'm very interested in how it's going.
Let me finish reading the article from the Catholic Miscellany, and it reads obviously like this. Heaton describes Charleston as an ideal location, noting that the school would initially serve 125 students with a goal of 500. And that's Connor Heaton, that is the director of school growth for the Cristo Rey School Network. Why Charleston? Why now?
That's a great question. My background is I'm from the Cristo Rey in Atlanta. It's one of the top performing schools in the network. So Connor specifically I was blessed enough for Connor to be really interested in when I wanted to look into the Charleston activities. My specific interest in Charleston is when I looked into the Charleston area, just a little bit of the research I've done, much like some of the other areas and the network serves, Atlanta, Tampa, Miami, and so forth, there's a large disparity in education between those in the underserved communities and those in the affluent communities. And that's no secret. It's no secret. I'm not saying one thing bad about one group or the other, but these communities that are most in need are not getting the best educational opportunities. So when I researched that and saw the disparity between that, I said, hey, I spoke with Connor and said, I would love to be a part of founding an opportunity for Cristo Rey in Charleston. I think they're deserving of it. I think the communities would embrace it. I think the business community would support it. So for me, it was a no-brainer to move my base from Atlanta to Charleston to support this effort.
Why? What is the disparity right now in education in your mind?
That's a good question. So in my mind, I visited some of the charter schools and private schools in the area, and I've looked at the level of education that they're getting as they go into the 9th grade. And when you look at some of the schools, and again, this is very much like other areas, so it's not specific to Charleston, but it is happening in Charleston. So you have students that are coming into the 9th grade with a 6th and 7th grade level education. And specifically, we can navigate that territory. That's what we do in Atlanta. That's what we do throughout the network. We recognize that it is no fault of that students, but it's a systematic thing that is going on with the communities where they're not getting the best possible education. So we bring in staff, we bring in resources that not only surround them with a high rigorous academic education, you're talking about on-level classes, advanced level, advanced placement, but also those that recognize, because they may be coming in at a couple of grades, difference, that we recognize that and we support them to get up to level and then beyond. And that's what the Cristo Rey Network schools are good at.
And so as we sit here right now, what is that target grade market?
So right now, we are a high school, so we're 9th through 12th grade. Jermel and I have been working on this probably for the past 2 or 3 weeks, like really hitting the ground very hard. A lot of the resources came before us, and they were working on it, and we're grateful for that, Connor and some of our chairs. But we've recognized it's going to take about a couple of years for this effort to bring it to fruition. Mm-hmm. And so right now, our target audience is going to be the elementary schools, actually. It's going to be 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that we want to talk about and say, hey, families, students, is this something that you're interested in? Here's what we can do. Here's how we can change the narrative. Are you interested? We're not coming here to save anybody. We're not the saviors. We're here to provide an opportunity. And we hope that the communities recognize, hey, that's a great opportunity. I want a part of that. Then let's proceed forward. But there's such strong communities here. Our objective is to talk to those communities, the 4th and 6th grade families and parents and students, and say, hey, this is what we have to offer. Does this interest you?
Does it interest you? How did my man get into this picture?
Jermel?
Yes, sir.
None of this happens without Jermel. I will give you some brief context to that. I came into it, like he said, he nor I were involved in the June meeting. I came into it about late September, early October, and I kept meeting benefactors and supporters of this effort, which was great. We have 2 strong chairs, Gene D'Agostino and Paul Heinauer, amazing men in the city of Charleston doing great things around the city and beyond. We're blessed to have them. They brought on several different benefactors and stakeholders that are introducing us to businesses, job opportunities and such. And, I kept kind of looking for, okay, well, I also need to be in the communities. In Atlanta, my role was director of admissions. So outreach and community engagement is specifically what I did and is my expertise. So I kept engaging Gene, like, hey, when can we get somebody that, is known within the communities and can kind of get the Cristo Rey name out there and that I can go with physically into those communities? He said, I got just a guy for you. There's a young man named Jermel President. He's with the Day Foundation. Just a lot of great things, accolades came on with us. I said, I got to meet this guy. Quite frankly, I didn't know what his ethnicity was. I just knew with the things that Gene was saying about him, I knew I had to meet him because this crew was going to be the person who was going to allow me to be able to engage the communities. He introduced us over the phone. I mean, we had a rapport within minutes on the phone. And I recognized this isn't going to be a regular benefactor stakeholder. This person needs to be a consultant on this project with me. So he actually has been very supportive of me. I have only 2 consultants that are hand in hand with me on this project. One is in Atlanta, and then Jermel, who is here with us in Charleston. And he's the one that's kind of guiding and navigating me through the waters here. And the interesting thing is all the different committees, the last thing I'm saying, and I'll let him speak on a little bit, but the interesting thing is, we initially met and Jermel was going to help me navigate through some of the community outreach efforts. As he began to be engaged, he has intimate knowledge on jobs, businesses, stakeholders, fundraisers. So at this point, Jermel is actually chair of the community survey committee, but he's intimately involved in every committee, overall part of the feasibility study committee that we're moving forward with. And he's a critical part of our progress moving forward.
Jermel, what part of the efforts of the Cristo Rey Network that made you say, yes?
Well, with the Day Foundation, a couple of things that we're interested in. Our focus is education and career opportunities. Sports is a given. So, but when we talk about Cristo Rey, I'll let Joe talk about the whole setup and how a day looks at the school. But I always wanted opportunities for the community. And in the Cristo Rey makeup, kids go to school for 4 days a week and then work 1 day in corporate America. So, I mean, that's just a no-brainer when you talk about those transferable skills that they will learn in high school and be able to go into college and into work field. So I'm behind it 100% when you're talking about targeting, especially the low-income families that want to get a better education. So, you know, when Gene told me about it, and Joe and I spoke, like you said, we hit it off in 10 minutes, and you know, we spend sometimes 45, 50 minutes on the phone just talking on how can we make this happen. And you know, I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Now, Joe, let me ask you this. Obviously, you live in Atlanta, you work in Atlanta, but we know about the great communities in Atlanta, and I'm sure there are some unfortunate low-income neighborhoods in Atlanta as well. What part of those neighborhoods and communities from Atlanta resembles Charleston?
Well, the unique thing about Cristo Rey School is they all have the same pedagogy. We all serve the low to moderate income families and communities. And so Atlanta looks just like what we're seeing here in Charleston. And I think that's where Jermel and some of the other strong stakeholders that are supporting us on this committee are going to be, you know, pivotal. I grew up in Atlanta. I'm part of the Atlanta public school system. And so I know where those moves are. I know where those communities are. I grew up with many of them. And so that's the strength that Jermel and some of the other committee members bring, because that's who we want to serve. But again, I just want to emphasize, it's about if we have a product that they desire and can see the benefit in, and we'll roll with this, because we're not forcing this down anybody's throat. It's something that should be mutually beneficial.
He touched on this a little bit, Jermel, that is, and the article goes on to say this, quote, its mission is to provide people with limited financial resources an opportunity to attend a rigorous college preparatory school, while at the same time giving its students invaluable work experience. Yes. At Cristo Rey schools, a student attends 4 days of classes that run from 7:30 to 4:30. Obviously, you all talk about the work experience, but what will be the academic regimen for the average student?
Oh, that's a great question. I love talking about the regimen. The great thing is we're a private school, and so although in Charleston we would ensure that our academic regimen aligns with state regulations, that's not what we go by. We have a proprietary academic system that the network allows the different schools to run their own proprietary system, and it aligns with theirs. So when you come in as a freshman, you're taking on-level biology, on level. We don't start with algebra. We're starting with geometry. So we're assuming you've navigated through some of these math courses. So you're on level in the 9th grade, or in many areas what might be an honors or even advanced level. By your 10th grade year, you're able to take advanced placement or advanced classes. By your junior and senior year, you're able to take those advanced placement classes and get college level credit for it. So not only are we supporting them at the highest level of rigor, but we also are making the college experience now more affordable, because now you're taking those AP classes and you're getting college credits. So we're wanting to push that needle forward for those families that want to continue that path. Our academic rigor is very much college preparatory. When I tell you that we prepare them for college, we prepare them to get into and through. So the network touts a 99% graduation rate. Our students are graduating, 99% college acceptance rate. So they're graduating and they're getting into college. We also have an alumni system. Okay. So the cool thing about Cristo Rey that we do is not only are we getting you into college, but because the collegiate dropout level is so high nowadays, because students aren't getting supported, we actually have alumni counselors that are visiting our students. They go in and saying, hey, what are some of the things that you're navigating through? It's simple things. We had a student that went up to Washington, D.C. to go to school, and we're checking on her, and everything seemed to be fine, but come to find out she hadn't been going to classes. Well, it dwindled down to something as simple as she's from Georgia. She's a Georgia peach. She wasn't ready for that weather. So literally, she just needed some things to help bundle up to deal with some of the cold weather that she had to navigate through. And we helped her get through that, and she's still having a very successful collegiate opportunity there in her second year now.
Jermel?
I think, this whole effort is so needed in this area. And like, I can't say no more than what Joe just finished saying about, about the area and the whole project. So, I'll let him continue to talk on that, if you like, but I agree with everything he's saying.
Obviously, you are a sports titan in this town. When you look at sports with the Cristo Rey Network, what goes to your mind?
That's a good question. And we just talked about it briefly. And I was telling him, in the academic and the athletic community, the Bobby Hurleys of the world, the Dukes of the world, they came from St. Anthony High School, which is a Catholic high school in New Jersey. If you Google Catholic sports and basketball, you see that some of the top ranked schools in the country are Catholic schools. So, right now, my focus is really the student and getting career, focus. But, we were started at a 9th grade level, so sports wouldn't be that strong. But eventually, we're going to be at St. Anthony's that could be the powerhouse, in this country that can be able to compete.
Let me stay on Catholic, because obviously, when you look at the Crystal schools, and some, it's actually from a multitude of religious backgrounds that is, and 60% of the students, I believe, are Catholic. Would the students who are enrolled as students be required to practice Catholicism in your mind?
Absolutely not. So our schools are very diverse. So when you think about some of the diocesan schools, some of the Catholic schools, they actually are required to maintain their Catholic identity at a certain rate. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is what they do. Some of them may be 70 or 80%. We do not have that requirement in any of our Cristo Rey schools. What we attract, and when you say that 60% number, those are just those families and those students that have been attracted to the model, what we're doing, and they're from those communities.
Sure.
When you look at that, and over 40% are not Catholic. We have a range of faiths. We have Muslims at our schools. We have Buddhists. We have a very diverse set of faiths and students at our schools. And that kind of represents the culture of who we're trying to put out into the collegiate environment and into the society that can navigate around a very diverse society that we live in, and the collegiate experience they're going to have. Being Catholic not only is not required, but the faiths that we teach are world religions. So as a Catholic school, we will have an all-school mass, monthly. And we would ask everybody to attend. You are not required to receive the host of the Eucharist and whatnot, but we do ask you to listen to the message. And it would be no different if it was an ecumenical mass, which we will also offer. We may have, a Presbyterian or Methodist come say a message as well. So we're very, very diverse in that. But our Catholic foundation, our Catholic tradition is more so our belief in our faith, but also our service to others, to the communities, and the strong education and rigorous academic providing to those students.
Location. We're just 1 block away from the notable Cathedral St. John the Baptist. When the Cristo Rey Network comes to Charleston, where exactly is the school going to be?
That's a great question. And, I kind of want to be ambiguous because, I recognize that a lot of people are going to be engaged and hear this and say, well, what about this? What about that? The reality is we have to navigate around a lot of different things. We have to navigate around, it's a private school, so families will have to get their children to the school.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there may not be the logistics system to get some back and forth, and I'll ask Jermel to speak a little bit on that. But that comes into play, specifically Jermel and I have talked a lot about where that location might be. Honestly, right now, the area we're looking at, where the communities that we think we can serve the most in the kind of a hub area, is North Charleston.
Okay.
I will be transparent about that. That is not decided upon yet, but there's a lot of emphasis. We've met with a lot of stakeholders in that area, and there's a lot of support for us to be located there. I really like to talk about that.
I'll touch base on that. And I think from what he just said, the school won't have a way to transport the kids to and from school, but I think because it provides a great education, great opportunity, parents would be in tune and help making this happen. We're going to have parental meetings, get some parental committees. Sure. We're going to partner up with different hotels, different shuttle services, and make it happen. I think, like any other thing, be drop-off spot, pick-up spot. We make it workable for the parents in order to get to and from school and be effective that way.
And let me get back to the article because they said, obviously when it talks about, requirements, it says first, however, they must conduct an 18-month feasibility assessment, which requires 25 letters of intent from local businesses, a suitable site, $2.5 million, and a religious sponsor. Funding has been secured, and a number of businesses have already expressed interest in participating. What else do you have in place right now?
Right now, we've made some very good progress with letters of intent. Blackball, as a company, has come on board. We actually met with them today because they've been such an ardent supporter of ours. We met with some of the higher-ups there, and Tony Boyd specifically, and he's also working with the Chamber of Commerce and some other really good activity. And they're really supportive of us. They're wanting us to, give them some more information so they can spread the word. But at the same time, there's a lot of different people that we've talked to. I spoke with the Chris Singleton of the Charleston River Dogs yesterday. He was very open to it, no commitments or anything, but had a great conversation with them. And it's just some of those open arms that the community is already providing us, very reminiscent to me of how we were able to do it in Atlanta with so many people hearing about it and saying, hey, tell me a little bit more. We have our feasibility study meetings that each time we have them, they're filled with stakeholders and benefactors that come and want to know more. We've had foundations attend those meetings. So we're reaching out in all different areas, but specifically the religious sponsorship, we've made progress. The diocese is very supportive. They've actually talked with different organizations, said, you need to speak with Cristo Rey, Charleston, they're doing a good job. I want them here. Let's make that happen. So the diocese, from a Catholic standpoint, is very supportive. The jobs, like I said, with Blackball and others, they're very supportive. And then the fundraiser, we're hitting the ground hard on that. You know how it is with funds. They kind of want to see somebody else putting in first. But we've got a lot of pledges, and we're trying to turn that into some hard dollars. But again, we have a 18-month nugget to work on that, and we're really just getting started with Jermel's help.
You have the academics, you have the sponsors as far as the religious base, you have commitments. What will be the Cristo Rey Charleston purpose, mission in the next 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Wow, that's a great question. So, I think the narrative that Cristo Rey likes to say is, we're changing communities and we're transforming communities. And I think that's part of what we want to do. When we started in 1996 in Chicago, in the Pilsen community, that was the effort. They went in and the priest went to the community and said, what can we do? He didn't go to them and say, hey, I'm going to give you a school. He said, how can I help you? And they said they were wise enough to know we need a quality education. With a quality education, those students are going to come back. They're going to come back to those communities. They're going to thrive in those communities. They're going to change those communities. They're going to change those families. And we've seen that, 35 to 37 different times now with our different Cristo Reys. And we're looking forward to that being accomplished here in Charleston. We're looking forward to not just North Charleston communities being transformed, but the Charleston greater area being transformed with the efforts that this school is going to put forth and with these students that are going to get this education and go out and change the world.
Change the world.
And he just hit on it when he said, students coming back and helping in the community.
Sure.
This wasn't a Cristo Rey 25 years ago, but it was an Agape Ministries. It was a Midnight Basket.
Right.
And with going through that program, I was able to go to college and be successful and coming back and help my community.
Right.
So without those efforts 20 years ago, we wouldn't be doing this now. So I think I want to be able to, and when I'm always in the mix of creating new things and bringing things. So I wanted 20 years from now, somebody going to be sitting at another interview doing the same thing. And that's what it's all about.
But then, what does Cristo Rey mean to you?
For me, Cristo Rey I'm passionate about how we are changing our culture, our society, and our world. Because as Jermel said, these students are coming back and they're not just taking on jobs. They're taking on opportunities to impact other lives. They're taking on opportunities to get back into a school system or be CEOs of these companies. But they're doing all these things with love and compassion. and they're not chasing the bag. It's not about the money for them. It's about the mission. It's about the mission of caring for others and loving others. And when I see that, as I taught at Cristo Rey in Atlanta, I see in their hearts that desire, that passion. And so that's what keeps my passion burning. That's what keeps me driving. It's not me. It's the Holy Spirit as He works through me. But it's those students. It's the glimmer I see in their eyes that with this chance, I know what I'm going to be able to do. And who am I to not do anything but be super supportive of that?
Of that. Obviously, you just mentioned that you were a teacher for the Cristo Rey Network. And now you're going to open up the Cristo Rey Network here in Charleston. What have you learned about Cristo Rey now that you didn't know before as a teacher?
Whew, wow, just how amazing the communities are that embrace that model. See, when I started teaching, it was there. You know, they had already founded it. The feasibility study had already been done. But coming here and the buzz that I hear, the mere fact that we're doing an interview with you, I heard so many amazing things about the mere fact that Jermel has taken his time out. He has a whole foundation. He has all these amazing things that he's doing in the community. But he's already committed this. Has known me for 2 weeks. That is the response that I've been getting. And it's just, I would have never known that. I would have never seen that coming. I didn't expect it, but I'm grateful to have it. And I think it's just going to make our efforts that much easier as we move forward with this.
Jermel, what's next?
Quintin, you ask that question all the time. The answer is Cristo Rey.
Yes.
That's not next. That's now. So we're going to move forward and, get the community involved. Like I said, I think for all the help and other committees, we had a meeting yesterday and everybody's very, very, very supportive, and we appreciate those efforts that we're given to make this thing happen.
That is so amazing. Well, Jermel President and Joe Barker, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups. Welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Q.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.